you doing, Met fans? And welcome back to another edition of the Terry Collins Show, presented by Tunnel the Towers, supporting America's greatest heroes. Donate just $11 per month by going to t2t.org. That's T2T.org. I'm John Arezzi, back for another week after my trip to New York, where I got to see some Mets baseball in person outside of spring training for the first time this season, including all 3 days of the Subway Series. The Mets head into the All-Star break after this current road trip with 3 to go in Kansas City this weekend. We'll discuss it with SNY's Andy Martino, who will join us shortly. And then we got a really cool Talkin with TC with founder of the 7-Line Army, Darren Meenan. Terry and Darren get together, and there is a lot of love there. So we'll have that great interview, talking with TC, with Terry, myself, and Darren Meenan. And then we'll also have another in our series of Tunnel to Towers stories highlighting the man whose number gets retired on July 19th at Citi Field, the Captain David Wright. But let's go right to the leadoff. And without any further ado, let's welcome back to the Terry Collins Show, direct from New York. He's the baseball insider for both the Mets and the Yankees for SNY's Baseball Night in New York. And he's also very prominent on SNY.TV. His 2 great books, most recently The Yankee Way, The Untold Story of the Brian Cashman Era, and Cheated, The Inside Story of the Astros Scandal and a Colorful History of Sign Stealing, are available everywhere and highly recommended reading. Let's welcome back Andy Martino. Andy, how you doing?
I'm doing well, John. Thanks for the great intro. As always, I appreciate it.
I like to give what we call a hero's welcome, and you're certainly very deserving of that, and not only the fact that, we're both Beatle enthusiasts, which we're going to get into later in the segment, but you've done some incredible things, man. I mean, your books actually turned a good friend of mine who's a writer, sports writer for several newspapers, local newspapers, and he reads. He reads everything he can about baseball. And I spoke to him about your book, The Yankee Way, and he ran out and got it like the same day, and he just loves it. So that's Don Liable is his name, and
Tell Don I said thanks. I honestly, in all honesty, anytime you take the time a year or 2 out of your life to write a book, and any one person enjoys it, it means a lot. It's nice. Oh, yeah. You think, I did this thing in my basement and somebody actually liked it. That's a nice feeling. I got to say, so thank you.
Yeah. I've had that experience with mine as well. And, mostly the hardcore wrestling fans, and I've had such a crazy life, but it is kind of cool when you get an email or just a message out of the blue is like, hey, listen, just want to let you know that I really enjoyed your work. So that's very, very cool. Well, let's get to baseball. The Mets seem to have righted the ship since the last time we spoke. They won 2 or 3 from the Brewers and then 2 or 3 from the Yankees in the Subway Series, and just had an amazing comeback win a few nights ago in Baltimore after being down 4 runs. So what a difference a week makes for this New York Mets squad.
Yeah, that's baseball season, right? I think here in New York, I love that I work in a town where fans are passionate enough about both teams to react strongly to every game, every series, every week. But as we know, and as they know as well, really, outside of that emotional component, every season is long enough where no one period of time really tells you much about the big picture. And that goes for when the Mets were struggling. The only thing that was really in the danger zone, I felt, was when one starting pitcher after another, and plenty of relievers too, kept dropping to the IL. It's like they were already, I think they'd lost 12 of 13 at one point. And so they were at risk of really spiraling out of control and digging themselves a hole simply because they didn't have major league pitchers, because these guys were hurt. So the performance against Milwaukee and the Yankees was really significant because they were able to survive, and now guys are coming back as soon as this weekend. Real guys, Senga, Minaya probably. So that was a big period of time for the Mets to collect some wins somehow, some way. I agree, but it is as bleak as it seemed. It always seemed, unless you're the '98 Yankees or one of those teams that's kind of run, or the '84 Tigers, or get teams that run the table sometimes. But most championship teams have these stretches of doldrums. An example I kept using at Yankee Stadium during the Subway Series that makes the point for both teams. Both the Yankees and the Mets came into the Subway Series in a down note, other than those few games against the Brewers, but generally speaking, a down note. And I was reminding people that last year in the Subway Series, the Yankees played a game where Jahmai Jones led off the New York Yankees and J.D. Davis batted cleanup behind Aaron Judge. And it was like, this cannot happen. What a disgrace. You have a $300 million payroll and J.D. Davis is sitting cleanup, fire everybody, in prison ownership. It was like, this cannot happen. And then it was a dark moment, but then they're in the World Series. So what the hell, John? Nothing means anything in the course of a long baseball season.
No, I mean, you could panic 1 week and then the next week you feel good. Exactly. And it's this roller coaster ride. And, you just, if you're, an observer, a longtime fan like me, decades, and you being an insider the way you are, you're accustomed to these roller coaster rides. And it's really not going to look like anything significant until you get into mid to late August after the trade deadline. And then then you kind of have a feeling, all right, this is where we're heading. So we'll see with the teams. It's exciting to be a Mets and a Yankees fan right now. It really is. And that leads me to the Subway Series. And for me, an exciting one. I was at those 3 games at Citi Field. Sunday was extremely hot.
Yes, it was. I was there too.
Oh, my goodness. I had I have like a quarter season plan in section 126, and those seats are great because the shade actually gets there pretty
under
quick.
The overhang there, yeah.
And then on Sunday's game, I sat with my nephew in the front row, right field against the rail, and that was brutal. Couldn't handle it.
You must have almost melted.
I'm baking in the sun, and I told my nephew, please bring some sunscreen. And, he's like, sure, no problem, Uncle. And, I start to put it on, and I'm like, the bottle looked old, right? And first it was like an SPF of like 30, and which is not going to do anything for me. And then I looked at the expiration date. It was kind of like from 2018. So it's like, well, there goes that. So anyway, I got burnt to a crisp, and it was that was a brutal day. But the Subway Series was exciting. It really, really was. I mean, these two teams ended up with 3 wins apiece in the season series. The rivalry always has the fans amped up, as we know. But this year, and I think last year and this year, it seemed even more so with the Juan Soto factor, among other things. Do you feel like this year's Subway Series was more intense than any we've seen in quite a while? Or are they all
John, that's an interesting question. They all bring it for me. I'm not trying to downplay this year's at all. It was great energy, great theater in both ballparks. You could certainly, like, the Soto situation is unique, and the loud booing at Yankee Stadium and all the stuff, Soto tipping his cap and having fun with it on Friday, and then the fans heckling him so badly in right field that by Sunday he was really down. That was a new variable, obviously. And then at Citi Field, as you saw, the reaction to Soto was so mixed because the fan base is mixed there. So it's like just a lot of noise, booing, cheering. So yeah, that's new and unique and cool. I always look forward to this thing. Every year, whether it's Dylan G versus Ivan Nova or whatever, it's still pretty good. I got to say.
Yeah, what really struck me was, and I knew that there was going to be crowd excitement in the 4th of July. First inning, the Yankees, come out of the box with back-to-back homers, and I'm like, all right, here we go. But Soto, when he strode to the plate, as you were there, it was like the Yankee fans started booing, but then all of a sudden, in unison, it seems like all the Met fans got up and cheered louder than those Yankee fans. And when Soto delivered that home run, the place exploded like a playoff game, and it was amazing to see. And I think for Soto, that really meant a lot to him as well. And he stepped it up, and he showed everybody what he can do. So it was an amazing game. They all were kind of amazing in their own way.
Yeah, that's a big moment. And Soto, they're all human beings, no matter how well they're paid. Soto is, I don't want to call him sensitive, but we're all sensitive about certain things, and he was beloved at Yankee Stadium last year. The connection that he had with those fans in the Bronx was so amazing that he's missed that. So to have the Queens fans get behind him that way, I'm sure was a very nice moment for him as well.
Yeah, we're certainly learning about Soto. Watching him day to day as a Met fan. Of course, you had the opportunity to see him in that Yankee Stadium environment, and he is an interesting personality. He is a little quirky.
Oh yeah.
He'll say something that really could be taken as a joke or whatever, but he's one of the most interesting guys that I've ever seen on a day to day basis, just because he's so. His magnetism. You watch everything that he does on and off the field, whether it's a post game interview or, of course, in right field, or when he gets up to the plate. So it's going to be a great ride, I think. But one thing I wanted to touch base with you on was Aaron Judge. I mean, after the Subway Series was over, and he was asked, I believe, by one of your colleagues, what's your impression of the Mets? And he said some interesting things that I'd like you to kind of explain to our viewers and our listeners how you perceived what Aaron Judge said about the New York Mets.
Yeah, and you're right, John. That question was from Chelsea Sherrod, a reporter at SNY. I was in the scrum too. And I thought what was really interesting, there were two facets of Judge's answer that were interesting. And by the way, I cover Aaron Judge, have for many years now. He is a thoughtful guy, gives a thoughtful answer. He kind of gets a perception from a distance as a Jeter type guy where he's available but buttoned up and doesn't say much. But he actually isn't that way. He tries to give you something, and he can be opinionated sometimes. So all of that is to say that I take seriously what he says, and I think it's worth picking apart. And in this case, it was basically the question was of some version of what do you think of the Mets right now? After playing them 6 games, and he goes, the Mets are the Mets. They're a great team. So the Mets are the Mets. You've been around a long time, this franchise. I don't think the Mets have gotten enough credit for being good as many years as they have. The LOL Mets thing, that's a whole other topic. I think that's always been overstated. The Mets have been good plenty. But let's be real here. If someone's going, the Mets are the Mets, they don't mean always they're a great team. They mean, the freaking Mets.
Right.
The LOL Mets. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So for Judge in his statement to make it self-evident, Mets are the Mets. They're great. That'd be like, the Dodgers are the Dodgers. Hey, man. The Yankees are you know what I mean? It was a different way to frame someone's perception of that team, and it shows that even though they haven't really won anything yet, there's a perception. Certainly they're not a joke, and far from it. And when teams play them, they're like, good team. And that's just the way it is right now. And the way it's going, I think. And then the other thing about Judge is he followed it by saying it all starts with their manager. And he went on for a sentence or two more about how Mendoza, he played, obviously, not for Mendoza, but Mendoza's the bench coach on Judge's team for several years. And this is a guy who gets you ready. This is a guy who knows how to motivate people. That was what Judge was talking about. So for fans that can live and die by every pitch and every move and get frustrated with their manager at times, I thought that was a good reminder that Aaron Judge says, unprompted, no one said, what do you think of Carlos Mendoza? Right. He brought it up. Yes. And he authentically believes that Mendoza is a big reason why the Mets are good. And he's right, by the way.
Yeah, that was really cool to hear him say that and to kind of change the perception a little bit, because we all know the Mets are the Mets. I've heard it for decades.
Right.
And never really in a good way. So this was
cool.
And
sometimes often unfair, but still that's the perception. They're turning the perception. I think that's the point.
It's certainly changed. The Mets, as you had mentioned, the pitching has been decimated. That was kind of the biggest worry. It was like one day after the other. It seems somebody else was going down, and they've used 35 relievers. And now it looks like some of the reinforcements are certainly coming back. And that puts a different perception on the team. Kodai Senga, right, is pitching this week? He's back?
He will pitch on Friday in Kansas City.
And then Minaya is scheduled for maybe Sunday?
They're saying tentatively scheduled for Sunday, but that right now, so we're speaking here right before the Mets doubleheader on Wednesday, and as of this moment, that's what they're planning on.
Now, what's the situation also with someone else we've been hearing a lot about coming back recently, and that's Brooks Raley?
They like what they've seen in rehab, somebody who could help them pretty quickly out of the All-Star break, potentially. You never know when someone's coming back from Tommy John, and oftentimes, of course, a pitcher needs a half a year or a year to really be themselves. But for what it's worth, they like the way the ball's coming out of his hand in the rehab assignment. So they need a leverage reliever. I don't think you want Ryan Stanek as your eighth inning guy in the World Series if you get there. And so Brooks Raley is a guy you throw into that high leverage mix if he's indeed himself at the big league level.
And you think that, like most insiders are saying, that the Mets are going to be aggressive at the trade deadline and then look for probably a frontline reliever or high leverage reliever rather than a starting pitcher? What's your?
I wouldn't say they're certainly looking for both.
Okay.
And they've talked to teams. They've talked to the A's about Severino. They've talked to the Pirates about Mitch Keller. They've talked to the Marlins about Edward Cabrera. All this to say, I'll shorten this up in the interest of time. They've talked to everyone about everyone, and as one does, this time of year, I would say that rotation's not quite the urgent priority it was a week ago because people are getting healthy, but they're certainly open to adding a starter, more than open. Definitely looking for a reliever, looking for a center fielder. One little wild card variable. I'm not sitting here reporting that they're looking for a third baseman. In fact, probably not, but it wouldn't shock me if they rented a third baseman because off the top of my head, I don't know the OPS they're getting out of that position, but it's got to be in the 600s this year. And you're trying to win a World Series. That's not good enough. So we'll see what happens there. But more likely than not, I would say pitching and center field.
Got it. Well, that suspense continues on the third base side with Mauricio, Vientos, Beatty, all kind of leading up to the break. Vientos seems right now potentially becoming kind of an odd man out in a way because he just hasn't been performing, and Mauricio has stepped it up a little bit. Do you think that one of these three guys really needs to be moved at the trade deadline, or you think Stearns is going to say, we're standing pat, we'll use them, we'll interchange them, we may go get another third baseman, as you said, potentially? What's your take on this?
It's certainly possible that one of those guys becomes available. The arguments for and against each, I would say, in terms of holding on to them versus trying to get something when you can. Well, they have prospect value, but also I would remember that and this is an every year lesson we relearn every year, that we tend to focus on the low hanging fruit, the guys like Mauricio and Vientos and Beatty that we know of, but oftentimes a team like the Mets can get away with acquiring talent for two minor league relievers or two minor league starters or something that we've never heard of, or that, deep dyed-in-the-wool prospect people have heard of. But they do have some pitching depth in their system that they could deal from. It's pretty rare that you get like a baseball trade with major leaguer for major leaguer, which is what you'd have to consider a Vientos, Beatty, or Mauricio trade right now. Happens, and the Mets will have to listen to everything. But I don't think it necessarily has to be one of those guys who gets you someone. To go through them all a few of them real quick specifically, they were open to moving Acuna in the right deal in the offseason. So I bookmarked that in my mind. Beatty has reestablished some value because he's turned into a more adept infielder than we thought he would defensively. So maybe it would have been hard to trade him at one point, and now maybe you might be able to get something for him. So that's a thought. I don't think they've seen enough of Mauricio to move him yet because of the upside. That's more my opinion than information, but he might be the one with the most upside. So it seems a little soon. Cut bait there. And Vientos, it's a complicated case. Before he broke out last year, I would say the Mets are willing to try to move him potentially, not aggressively trying to move him, but see what you can get for him. Then he has that amazing run last year. And now it's like, what is this? Who are you? What's going on? It's a confusing time for this player who's got a lot of upside, a lot of power. Good attitude for New York. Doesn't let things affect him. So that'd be a tricky one for me to move. But if someone came asking and you could get an Edward Cabrera, I'm just throwing this out there, I'm not doing a specific thing, and someone really wanted Vientos, maybe there's a conversation there.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. And of course, they brought back Acuna today. And they DFA'd Jankowski. Yeah. So we'll see how this all unfolds. The All-Star game, of course, next Tuesday. Francisco Lindor getting the start at shortstop, and Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz join him on the NL squad for the New York Mets, representing the Mets. One notable omission was Juan Soto. not being named by the players and MLB vote, and your take on Soto not being selected in this process, Andy?
Yeah. Look, he's having a great run. I think slow starters can, in a given season, can be penalized for that. And all-star voting for whatever reason. We saw that with Lindor for a number of years. An all-star game should have the biggest stars. Soto's got the most star quality, like X factor of maybe anyone or close to anyone in the game. I think they should stop playing the all-star game and do an international tournament or put the WBC midseason or do something more innovative anyway. So I don't get too. I think the all-star game itself has run its course, and we saw what success hockey had last year with that international stuff. I think we see that some of the tournaments happening in soccer. It seems like they're always the Club World Cup going on right now in the States. There's always something exciting going on there where you mix it up. So I'd like to see something more 21st century in that all-star break anyway. So that's not what you asked me, but that's why it's hard for me to get too worked up about. Well, it was something that when you were a kid and I was a kid, the all-star game was cool. But right now I feel like they could do better with that time.
Yeah. Well, Soto, interesting, that he kind of, in his personality way, was like, you're disappointed you're not in it. Well, what do you think, And then he said something about leaving money on the table, which has kind of become, because he was going to get $100,000 bonus. That doesn't really mean that, well, it's $100,000, but I think that it was his way of maybe, playing a little bit of a mind game with,
Hey, I was shocked to find out that Juan Soto cares about money. Shocked. I mean, this is the guy who left the team he loved. I mean, you know what? We could talk about this topic for a while. He didn't go to the high bidder. I believe the Blue Jays would have beat any offer for Soto that anyone put out there. That was my information. The Red Sox were really aggressive too. So it's not like it was all about money in his free agency. I don't think there's anything wrong with it being about money. You could certainly argue that it's not a great look for a guy with that kind of contract to talk about $100,000, but players think about money all the time, and he's just open about it. I guarantee you that bonus clause and the fact that MLB but relatively recently now there's this bonus pool for the players with a winning team. They get $20,000 a player, and that's supposed to help motivate guys to go to the game. Remember, guys were skipping the game to a point where it was a lot of guys. So here's $20,000 if you win. And you would think that would mean a lot to a guy making $20 million, but it's a business, and these guys are always aware of that. Money matters in this game. So that's what I would say. It's not just a Soto thing. He just says it. And I appreciate this is a very authentic guy where Francisco Lindor might calculate, might not be the best thing for me to say. Soto's like, this is what I feel, so this is what I'm going to tell you. And that's what I like about Soto.
Me too. I really enjoy his post-game press when the press is talking to him and you guys are talking to him.
Because he's a smart alecky young man in a good way.
He is. Well, it's just kind of fun to watch anyway.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap up today, but I know you're a huge Beatles fan, as I am.
Yes.
Beatles have been in my life since I was 7 years old back in the day. There was a tweet that came out of Steve Cohen that you kind of gravitated to.
Imagine that.
Yes, about the comeback, and he said something like the Fab Four, phenomenal win tonight by the Fab Four, which you took, and I think everybody took as kind of a Beatles reference, and you jumped on it and got a hold of them and wanted to discuss it with them.
Yeah, right. It's like if there's ever a story designed for me to, I mean, look around my set here, and then we're talking about the Mets and the Beatles. I mean, right there. So of course I'm going to reach out. It's like, how'd you think of that? Had you been calling them the Fab Four in the office? He said, no, it was a spontaneous thing. It just came out. I was watching the game by myself, and just from his brain right into his tweeting fingers. So I said, what was your favorite Beatle? And Steve said, McCartney. And I said, funny, because Paul wrote yesterday, just like that, just came into his head. And we're going back and forth about that. And I said, you got this Fab Four going. You got the Temptations to Citi Field last year for Lindor. let's go get Paul. And Howie Rose pointed out, which I hadn't even thought of. You may have thought of this before I did, John, but this August, I think it's the 15th, being the anniversary of the Shea Stadium show.
Yeah, it's a year 60 years
2025.
years ago. 60 years
Yeah.
ago in August,
So,
yeah.
So Howie, who's a huge Beatle fan himself, was like, well, this is the anniversary. Why don't we get Paul to Citi Field on that date? And so Howie and I are going to lead a multi-generational charge to try to make this happen. I don't have any power over the situation, but I have a megaphone, damn it, and I'm going to use it.
I think you should. I think that's appropriate. I mean, it really is. I mean, it is the 60th anniversary. Paul was in his 80s. And, I was telling you before we started recording today that I woke up to an email. I'm on McCartney's mailing list, and he's coming to Nashville November the 7th. So I got all ramped up over that. But I thought that was great. And you wrote a really cool piece at SNY.TV on this whole conversation with Cohen, and there was a picture that was on your Twitter page that I like to get your take on. There's the Fab Four, the Mets, and so why don't you kind of describe where did this picture come from, first of all, and who are the Fab Four there?
I put into Chat GPT.
There you go.
Give me I use it for research. It's actually kind of a useful tool for my general work and research. But anyway, I was just having fun with this. Being a Juan Soto-esque little wiseacre, I almost just putting that out there. But I said, give me those 4 players as the Beatles. And for anyone that's worried about AI getting ready to take over the world and become our overlords, just take a look at Lindor's hand on the base right there. So AI still got some work to do. But that's them. It's not actually the order that I put them in. Then I started to think, I took it a level further than Cohen. I said, if they're the Fab Four, who's who? And I thought about this after I had GPT put that picture together. So I think it actually fits kind of nicely when there's parallels to at least 3 of the 4. George and Nimmo is a stretch, but I'll go through it real quick. So Lindor's Paul, that's easy. Mr. Smile, cognizant of public opinion, engaging with the fans, even if he maybe is tired or whatever that day. When does Paul or Lindor ever not put on his best face for the fans? So boom, there it is. Paul and Lindor. I've got John as Soto because I'm impressed with myself the way I came up with this. I'm sorry, but because when you think about it, John to Paul, John has not as many tools in his skill set as Paul. John never recorded an album where he played every instrument. John never wrote songs that fit string quartets and all these, in these ways. But the one tool that John has, and for Soto, that's his eye for the strike zone, is so otherworldly brilliant that it elevates him for some over a more diverse talent like Paul / Lindor. You see where I'm going with this. Lindor's got more tools than Soto, but Soto's one tool is up. You get what I'm trying to say here.
I do.
Pete is Ringo because, of course, Pete's Ringo. Look at him. He's the goofy bastard in the charming way that Ringo is. And I'm very talented, just like Ringo is. And that leaves George for Nimmo, so I kind of fudged that one a little. George being a little underrated, Nimmo maybe being a little underrated. But I think the other 3 are perfect fits.
I love that. I love that comparison. It was very cool when I read it yesterday, and I knew I had to talk to you about it.
Of course we did.
Today. But Andy, as always a pleasure to have you as we head into the All-Star break now, and we look forward to having you back as always. So enjoy the All-Star game, and it was great to see you again.
Thanks, John. Good talking to you again.
We always appreciate Andy Martino, and we look to have him back next week with Laura Albanese, and we'll go over the All-Star game and what's happening in the All-Star break and leading up to the trade deadline. So always a pleasure to have Andy here with us. Such a great insider and such a great Beatles story today. Let's talk about our friends, our sponsors, our presenting sponsor here at the Terry Collins Show, and that's Tunnel to Towers. On June the 29th, 2 Idaho firefighters were ambushed and murdered while responding to a wildfire. It was all over the news. 3 days later, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation announced plans to pay off their mortgages. Both firefighters were married with children. This is part of the Tunnel to Towers commitment and mission. If a first responder is killed in the line of duty and leaves behind young children, the foundation pays off that family's mortgage. Simple as that. At a time of grief and uncertainty, Tunnel to Towers is giving the families stability and peace of mind. And in honor of Independence Day, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has assured financial freedom for more families. 25 others, matter of fact, fallen first responders. They'll have a future without a mortgage. These home recipients live in more than a dozen states across this country, and since its inception, Tunnel to Towers has delivered more than 1,500 mortgage-free homes. For more information on that and about all of the foundation's programs, go to t2t.org. And finally, Tunnel to Towers is also committed to eradicating veteran homelessness. The foundation has broken ground on 10 veteran villages across this country, including at the Jersey Shore recently. These facilities provide permanent housing for the veterans facing housing insecurity. In addition to a home, Tunnel to Towers will offer comprehensive services, including counseling, job training, and benefits assistance. And you can help with all of these programs by giving just $11 a month. You can also donate your car or land to Tunnel to Towers. Just go to t2t.org. That's T, the number 2t.org. We'll return with Talking with TC and Terry's special guest, Darren Meenan, founder of the Seven Line Army, right after these words from the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Larry was in a really bad accident and broke his neck in the line of duty.
I get a phone call early one morning from the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Said, we're going to provide you and your family with a smart home. At that time, I just almost passed out. I just couldn't believe it.
They heard his story, which means someone's out there listening.
By giving $11 a month, you're joining us on our mission to do good. Go to t2t.org now.
Our guest on the special Talking with TC is the founder of perhaps the largest fan base organization in the major leagues. It's literally an army of diehard Met fans who not only take over a section in center field during the season, but go on the road as well. Their merchandise line is featured at Citi Field, and the Mets pay tribute to them often, including this year's 2025 hype video, a special version that the Mets did for them. And we're going to play that for all of you right now to take a look at the Seven Line Army. Fabulous. Let's say hi to the founder of the Seven Line Army on this special Talking with TC, Darren Meenan. Darren, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Darren, thanks for coming on, man. I'll tell you, what have you created, pal? I'm serious. I mean, for heaven, how did it get started? Where did you come up with this? Was there a bunch of you just getting together and say, we got to create something that's fun around here?
No, it all actually started by accident. This is my 17th season running the Seven Line. Initially, it wasn't even supposed to be a brand or a business. I just made some funny T-shirts that I thought some fans might want. And I was selling them out of my backpack underneath the highway outside Citi Field in 2009, at the end of the season in 2009. And then I quickly realized that, hey, there's a lot of fans interested in what I'm doing here. And at the time, there was no one else really doing what I was doing as far as printing the shirts myself, designing them, and selling them to my fellow fans. At the time, if you wanted to buy a Mets shirt, you had to go to Modell's or somewhere like that. And kind of educating the fan that, hey, I'm one of you and I'm making the shirts myself and selling them myself. It really spread like wildfire. And by 2010, it became my full-time job. So it's been not really something I set out to. I never wrote a business plan. I never went to business school. Just a lot of hard work and elbow grease, and it worked out.
It sure has. I mean, is there a number that, I mean, do you have any idea the numbers that you've of people involved in this?
Thousands. I mean, I only have one other full-time employee besides myself. And, I've been working around the clock now since the end of 2009. But when we go somewhere, this past weekend, we were in Pittsburgh. I actually couldn't make it. I don't know if you saw any of my posts, but I was there on Friday night at the airport, and I spent 13 hours in delays. They finally canceled my flight. I couldn't get to Pittsburgh. So it was our 186th outing and the first road game I ever missed with the group. But we have a lot of great people involved in our organization, and everything went off without a hitch, which is nice. But when we ship out the packages, let's say we're going to Pittsburgh, for instance, there'll be 25 different states of fans represented that all just meet in Pittsburgh. So, I'm actually shocked that we've been doing this as long as we have. And we're basically showing the roadmap of how to do this. And no other fan base has really taken it to the level that we have. And it's all a testament to the Mets fans and how diehard they are and how passionate we are. And no matter what, we always try to have a great time. So, yeah, as we know, the Mets just got swept by one of the worst teams in baseball this past season. But if you look at the feedback and the comments on Facebook, for instance, if I write a post like, hey, thanks for coming, all positive. Thanks so much for bringing us together. We had fun despite the loss, despite the rain delay, despite this and that, whatever may have happened. That was a disappointing part of the season. But we like to say we're undefeated at tailgating, because what you can do is, put your best foot forward to try to enjoy yourself, enjoy your life, turn your brain off for a little bit from all the outside noise that goes on, and just enjoy yourself and watch baseball. So it's always a fun time putting these outings together. And I'm glad that this many years later, thousands of fans are excited to join us and cheer with us.
Well, I will tell you this. The impact it's made in the clubhouse is off the charts. I remember, and I'm trying to think what year it was.
I know exactly. You came out to us, not to cut you off, but you came out. Our very first road game was Wrigley in 2013, and that's before I had the MLB affiliation. I have a license with MLB now. That's how I can make all this official merch with, the official Mets marks and so on and so forth. But in 2013, we were still kind of under the radar. We didn't have a partnership with the Mets or MLB yet. And our very first game, I don't know how much time you have, but I could talk forever. Our very first game on the road was Wrigley, and I told the fans that were sitting with us, I said, hey, these aren't assigned seats, but it's a first come, first serve section out in the bleachers. We're going to have to get there early. So we lined up before the Cubs fans did. And when they opened up the doors, we took a section over, and that was just ours for the day. So when the Cubs fans showed up, they said, hey, Johnny, Joe, whatever his name was, said, hey, this is where I sit. Well, not today. We're here, So after batting practice, like, is the bullpens out there underneath the bleachers or something? You were coming out.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
You were walking out, and you see all of us, and you look up and you say, what the heck are you guys doing here? Is the first thing you said to us was, what the heck are you guys doing here? And that was our very first away game. And at the time, I was like, maybe we'll do one of these once in a while. And right after that, I was like, oh, wow, we got to do this every year. So we've been to every single ballpark besides Cleveland, Detroit, and Arlington. We've been everywhere else in MLB by now. So it's been a great time, great ride. And back then there was guys on the team that obviously are no longer with us, but Justin Turner, Dylan G, LaTroy Hawkins, like all these guys were so excited that we were there. And the Mets lost that day, unfortunately, but we had a great time, and that just sparked this whole thing.
Yeah. And, again, it's the meaning for the players. I mean, to have this group of people show up, win or lose, and just have a great time and show the support of the players. I mean, they've talked about it every year. You came that one time. One of the Subway Series games, you guys came to Yankee Stadium, and I think that's when we swept the Yankee. We beat them 4 straight. And you guys had the upper deck section, and I'm telling you, you put the Yankee fans to shame.
Won't let us. We can't go back. They don't let us back there anymore.
They won't let you back in?
Well, they make it extremely difficult for me to buy tickets. So 9 times out of 10, or 99% of the time, once we're on the radar with these ticket reps, they call me each year. The schedule comes out. Hey, are you coming back? It's the easiest ticket sale they've ever had. The Pirates. Who's going to Pittsburgh right now? So, right. For them to sell 1,400 tickets like that, we sold them out in like a day. It's easy sale. But the Bronx and the Yankees, they don't like to be like be showing up in their own ballpark, which I understand. But our first year at Yankee Stadium, I think, was 14. And then in 15, they moved us up another level. In 16, they moved us up another level. And then the next year, they split us up over like 10 sections. And I said, listen, like, I understand you're trying to kind of disperse the noise. You don't want us to completely take over your ballpark, but this isn't going to really work for us anymore. So my whole idea behind this is that I'm trying to provide a positive experience for both the home and the road team. So when we go somewhere, it's a fun back and forth. Knock on wood, we've been doing this a long time. The thing that I like the most, not that when the Mets lose, obviously, but when we're cheering the entire time and the fans around us are kind of quiet, let's say, the Giants fans when we were in San Francisco or the Pirates, wherever we are, the second their team does something good, they turn to us and cheer and clap and boo us. You know what I mean? So like we're bringing something to the ballpark that's back and forth and a rivalry is fun, but the Yankees don't want us back. They don't want our money. And I understand that eventually when the Yankees stink and they can't sell tickets, whenever that might be, 10 years, 20 years, they'll come calling and we'll go back eventually. So
when's your next outing?
This weekend. Saturday we'll be there, the 5th of July against the Yankees at Citi Field. We don't have actually any other road games planned this year. It kind of just worked out that way where we do repeats. We've been to Pittsburgh 3 times already. We've been to Boston 3 times already. I really like to check off new ones each year and kind of don't dilute what we're building. So I don't want to go to like Philly every single year and then have the numbers go from 1,000 to 800 to 500. I want to keep the excitement up. So we typically have about 16 outings a year, at least 2 or 3 a month at Citi Field, and then we try to check off new ones on the road. So yeah, if next year it works out, Cleveland, Arlington, and Detroit, they have to be weekends. So we only plan our road games on weekends. Unless they're close. I mean, we've been to Boston on a weekday because it's close, or Philly, or Baltimore. But the further ones that are from New York, we will really only do on the weekends.
Well, I'm from Michigan, so when you get to Detroit, you got to let me know. I'm gonna buy a ticket and get a T-shirt. Sit out there.
I think we can give you a ticket, Terry. But yeah, we would love to have you. We've been to so many cool games as a group. I got this on my desk right here. This was the Bartolo Colon Bobble Belly.
Oh my God!
Soto made this. So we bought our tickets to San Diego for 2016. Not knowing, obviously, that this was going to happen, but we were there for it. So there's been a lot of great memories with the group. There's been marriages from the group, unfortunately, some divorces from the group. But, we bring people together from all walks of life, and that's the thing I'm most proud of.
Oh, it is. It's just remarkable. And I tell you, you make an impact everywhere. I mean, I'm trying to remember during where we were at, and the game was over, and I walked wherever the ballpark we were at. And I walked home, and like every bar had 7-line Army people in it. And I'd stop and I'd have a glass of wine, and my God, it's just the conversations were off the charts, and they're such good people. It's amazing how they're just so happy to be with people who have a common denominator, and that's being a Mets fan, and they love it. So. I just think what you've done, you've created a tremendous thing, and keep it going for as long as you can, as long as you possibly can. And if when you decide to get out, find somebody else will take it over, because it's an amazing thing. So,
yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. You've always been so supportive of us, even in the last game of 2014. Obviously, the Mets didn't make the playoffs, and after this game was over and the players go out and they give out their batting gloves, or maybe to some fans over near the dugout, you took a straight beeline to us. And I have the photo. I don't know if I have the photo in my studio here, but I have a picture of it. Someone from behind home plate shot it, and it's you. Oh, actually, you know what? Maybe I don't know where it is. Oh, here it is. Hold on a second. This is huge, but this is you. Let me see if I can get this closer. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, my God. Wow.
So that's you, and then there's all of us in the back.
Yeah, well, that's cool. That's so cool.
And that was such a great moment. And there's a photo, there's a sign here that says, "We believe in 2015." Right here in the corner.
How about that?
And then we know next year what happened. So, you've always been great with us, and I appreciate that more than you can even imagine.
Well, it's my pleasure. So I know John's got some questions for you. Have you ever been in the 7-line crowd, John?
I have not. Well, I live in Nashville, but and I go up to New York. I mean, I've followed the 7-line since the very beginning, obviously, and For me, I mean, the recognition, especially in the 2015 season, because it was such instrumental from your road trips and the impact that you had with that particular team. And that was a special year. The growth, was it a really big year of growth for you, 2015, or were you well established? And I want to get Terry's viewpoint on how important that 7-line Army was to that 2015 team.
2015 was absolutely nuts. I got married in 2014. My daughter was born in 2015. We bought a new house in 2015. We moved. There was so much going on in 2015. And when the Mets made the playoffs that year, we made this orange sweatshirt that said postseason, whatever. And obviously the Mets weren't in the playoffs for a number of years before that. So that was a very popular thing for us. We couldn't keep them in stock. We had sweatshirts to the ceiling. My wife was working with my daughter on her chest in the warehouse. We were in the process of moving from Queens and boxing up all of our stuff during the playoffs. It was a crazy year for us. But as far as growth, I think that it's weird, man. Like, for us to have been around as long as we've been, with the Mets, for the most part, not being a great ball team for the ball club for 17 seasons, and for us to kind of get new members and have growth each year is really remarkable. So it's really just a testament to the fans and how passionate they are about the team. And 15 was crazy. But you were talking about like the recognition. But that year we had an outing in Baltimore on a Tuesday, and then that Saturday we were in Colorado. We won both the games, and my daughter was maybe 4 months old, and she was at both of them. Like, it was a crazy summer. And obviously when Cespedes came and everything turned around, and the Flores crying game and everything down to the World Series, it was a crazy crazy year.
Yeah, I told you, John. There'll be, before the game will start, guys are in there and they're getting themselves ready, and there's a lot of talk going on, and you will invariably, someone will say, "Hey, the 7 line's here today," and the clubhouse just starts, and you just feel the energy change. Oh, the 7 line's here today. They know there's going to be noise, there's going to be excitement, and when you play 162 games, and you can have that one night maybe where it's a long season, it's hot, maybe late in the summer, and when the 7 line shows up, the attitude in the clubhouse changes. That's the impact. That's why every time I ever had the chance, I wanted to come out and thank you guys, because it really did change the way players get ready for a baseball game.
That's awesome to hear. We have an overall winning record as a group. It's 101 and 86, or 85, 101 and 85. Unfortunately, we don't have a great record on the road, so I don't know if maybe we put too much pressure on the guys. They want to play harder because we're there. But like I was saying a little earlier, for us to have been around as many years as we have been, and saw a bunch of teams or a bunch of seasons where the Mets weren't particularly good, for us to still have a winning record is great. So win 100 was about a month ago or so. We've hit a little bit of a skid lately, but hopefully this Saturday we get back on the winning track.
Yeah, you will. I watched the game in Pittsburgh, and of course the cameras were always going up, and there wasn't very many happy faces. But no. I will tell you, it doesn't change the impact you made with the players, and I just hope they have fun, because it's a great thing for the game. It's a great thing for other teams to see it and know, hey, look, you go. And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of teams when they come to New York, or even maybe when they're home, they don't want the 7 Army showing up. I can tell you, no, it's great. So thanks for everything you do, and again, thanks for being on the show today.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a privilege.
Appreciate it. How does everybody find you, and let everybody know where to log on, and then how to become a member of the 7 Line Army?
Well, everything's on the 7line.com, THE7LINE.com. A lot of people ask, how can we join? They think there's like some kind of initiation. It's really just buy a ticket and show up, and then you're in. We have members that sit with us that get every home game, and you get a special jersey. But if you want to just come to any game you want to come to, and while tickets are available, that's on the 7linearmy.com. The 7 Line on social, pretty much everywhere. I handle all that. So come cheer with us. We'd happy to have you.
How do you get all these plane reservations?
Everyone books their own flights. I actually looked into years ago with Delta being Delta's on my list right now because of what happened on Friday. But I don't know if they're still the official partner of the team. But I looked into seeing if we could charter planes it ends up being more expensive because you kind of mess up their whole flight plans and stuff like that. So everyone's responsible for their own travel. We do get hotel blocks where it's an optional if you want to stay at a hotel with everybody. And then it's a little bit of a discounted rate, and then everyone kind of just hangs out in the same spot. But really the only thing we provide is the shirt. Everyone gets the shirt. We don't sell it separately. The ticket and the experience. That's really it.
Well, you provided a wonderful experience for thousands of people, and we wish you continued success. And let's go Mets.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that talking with TC, with Darren Meenan. What a passionate fan he's been and what he's built with that 7-line army. When I was at Citi Field over the 4th of July weekend, they were there behind center field. The entire section filled up with those orange jerseys, and they've done it now for so many years. And it's just a big part of the New York Mets is the 7-line army. So congratulations, Darren, on all the success and some future really cool things we're talking to Darren about, which we'll get to on future shows. Well, on Saturday, July 19th at Citi Field, the Mets will pay tribute to the one and only David Wright, the captain. David will be inducted in the Mets Hall of Fame and have his number 5 retired on that same day. Now, David is only the second Met to be inducted in their Hall of Fame and have his number retired on that same day. The only other player to have both of these honors simultaneously was the immortal Tom Seaver. David recently got involved with Tunnel to Towers as well, and right now we can share his story with you. Let's go to that now.
I'm David Wright, former New York Mets third baseman, and I support the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. My father was in the Army Reserves and then went on to work his way up the Norfolk Police Department to assistant chief. At the time, growing up, didn't quite know the challenges or the risks or the dangers of the job, but now that I have kids of my own, I certainly appreciate his service, the dedication to the craft, and obviously serving the community. Because I grew up in a household with a police officer as a father, I see firsthand the impact that these men and women make on their communities. Each year of my career, we would go visit different firehouses, and to hear the stories firsthand from coworkers, friends, brothers, sisters that had lost a family member in 9/11. It's a incredible feeling to hear the stories, although incredibly sad, but just the way their mind works and the mindset of a true hero running towards the problem and not away from it. We should do what we can to help the first responders, because it's very easy to overlook the work that they do on a daily basis until you actually really need them. And again, they'll be the first ones there to help. So it's nice to be able to reciprocate that and to help them as much as we can.
This newly renovated smart home marks a fresh start in the lives of those who deserve it the most.
I think it's incredibly important to support Tunnel to Towers. I've seen firsthand the great work they do helping our firefighters, our police, and our soldiers and their families. T2T is asking for your support for these brave men and women. Just $11 a month will go a long way and make a big difference. Let's go Mets, and let's help Tunnel to Towers. Go to t2t.org to find out more. Let's do good together.
David Wright, who will be honored in just a little over a week away. I'm heading up to New York for that ceremony. And of course, Terry Collins and I will cover it right here on the Terry Collins Show. And we'll share another T2T story with you on the next episode. Before we go today, I want to remind you to check out Amazing Conversations with Jay Horowitz, a New York Mets podcast hosted by the foremost Mets historian. Each week, Jay brings on guests from all eras in Mets history. This week was a good one. Jay brought on one of David Wright's best friends, best man at his wedding, and the Mets bullpen catcher since the year 2000. So, wow, he's been there for looks like about 25 years. Dave Raccanello joins Jay on the podcast this week to share his David Wright memories, including perhaps David's best ballpark prank. You got to listen to it. Amazing Conversations with Jay Horowitz, available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. We also invite you to subscribe to the Terry Collins Show on your favorite podcast platform or on our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com /The Terry Collins Show. Our entire archives of the past 2 seasons are there, and all the episodes appear. We always put clips together. Marsh does a great job, and we edit these little clips and put them up there. So numbers have been really, really good. So why don't you check out the Terry Collins Show on YouTube? There's so much content there. You'll enjoy it all. That'll wrap up another edition of the Terry Collins Show. I want to thank our creative director, Marsh, for all the great work he does each and every episode, and to our researcher, Dominic DiBiase. For Terry Collins, this is John Arezzi. We'll see you next time.